Hey, it's Pastor Joe, lead pastor at Markham Woods Presbyterian Church, trying to earn my keep, I guess, as a pastor, as a leader of ministry. So I'm going to offer you another little update today. It's Wednesday morning. It's April 15th. And to do so, most of the folks that come to our church, they know me. I guess they know me pretty well. But there may be some things about me that you don't know. I think I'm not unlike most of you out there. My life has gone through seasons and changes. And I think early on in my life and my career, based on what I was dealing with at the time, I think I was kind of I guess folks would have called me a pessimist, right? A glass half empty sort of person, meaning I would see a situation and kind of almost expect the worst out of it, or some kind of catastrophe might come my way. And I guess that's good to be prepared for that, but it's not a very fun way to live. But as my life has moved on, and as I've grown, and I hope I've grown in my faith and through experience, I begin to see the world through a little bit of a new perspective, or newer perspective, and that is, I guess, more of a glass half full kind of person, meaning seeing situations, and rather than saying, "Oh my gosh," it's more like saying, "Okay, how can we kind of harvest the good out of this? How can we make something really good come out of a situation that was really kind of messed up or broken?" And maybe you find yourself on that spectrum somewhere today between glass half empty and glass half full. I just saw in the news report this morning that the lockdown is going to go on. They're saying now maybe May 1st they start opening things up. And if you're like me, I'm kind of tired of this. Kind of tired of living like this. I want to live a little different way. And I know that sounds, maybe that is the glass half empty, but there are better ways, and that's the glass half full. But for you, if you're feeling like, "Oh, I don't want to live like this anymore," and you just feel like the ceiling is literally crashing in on your head, you're not alone. As a matter of fact, our ceiling at the church is literally crashing in, which is a good thing. You're not here to be experiencing that. Over years of, I guess, just age and heat of expansion, cold of contraction, our ceiling has begun to crack, and some of the seams are cracking a bit. And out of that cracking, it's left an interesting view. If you're used to coming to worship and lifting your hands and looking up into the heavens and wanting to see kind of some image of God. Instead, what you really see is drywall tape hanging down and pieces of plaster. Is not a pretty sight. So we need to do something about that. And when I began thinking about, okay, we've got to repair this thing, we've got to make changes, a passage came to mind, and it's out of Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. And it says this: "As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." In other words, as the faithful were kind of reacting to the brokenness in the world, it looked like bad things were happening to them, but actually they were recognizing God's ability to reach into the brokenness and bring something really good out of it. In fact, some things that actually ended up saving their lives. So I guess being a glass half full kind of person is learning about the blessings and seeing blessings even in the midst of the chaos and of the brokenness that is going on in the world. So perfect example, we have the ceiling fall again. Well, we were going to repair the ceiling, and we had planned to start it this weekend. And we were going to have to shift all our worship over to our fellowship hall, which would have been difficult and different and all those things. But glass half full, right? Bringing something good out of something not so good, because we're not having public worship. That work is going on right now while you're at home watching us virtually. So if you're watching along and you see ladders and scaffolds and things, you'll know what's going on. We're trying to be glass half full kind of folks, and allowing God to make something good come out of something not so good. Which also brings to mind another passage out of the Old Testament. It comes out of Proverbs. It's Proverbs chapter 10, verse 5. And it says this: a child who gathers in the summer is prudent, but a child who sleeps in harvest time brings shame. The Message has a nice little way of talking about that in simple terms, that you don't go fishing when it's time to harvest. It's time to harvest, what's the old saying? You make hay while the sun is still shining. So we're trying to make some hay while the sun is still shining with the ceiling in there and the pears. But we have another idea. This church has been so richly blessed. And the blessings are you, and they come from you as a conduit from God. But we don't want to hold on to that. We want to see what's going on in the world right now, not as a glass half empty, but as a glass half full, which means we have the ability to be that blessing, to make hay while the sun is shining, to harvest when it's time to harvest. So one of the things we want to do to act on that and invite you to participate is we're going to do another one of our grab and goes, right? A grab and go food delivery this Friday. So just like we did a couple of weeks ago, you'll drive into onto the church campus and go down by Anderson Hall, the fellowship hall, and you'll drive into the portico, the covered area. And once again, you'll be handed a hot, home-cooked meal, delicious meal, as a matter of fact. And you'll be able to get that and drive on out. So, but here's the take. Just like Proverbs says, a child who gathers in the summer is prudent. So we want you to be prudent, and we also want you to act on that Genesis passage, how God can bring something good, even though brokenness happened in the world, and God is powerful enough and wise enough to reach into the brokenness and bring something good out of that. So not only do we want you to get meals for you and your family, we want you to get an extra meal. And here's the way that we're going to act on making hay while the sun is still shining. We want you to take that meal and give it to somebody in need. You know somebody that needs a pick-me-up. You know somebody that would love to have a hot home-cooked meal. You know somebody that needs that. So you take an extra, and that way we continue to be a conduit for blessings. We don't hold them into ourselves. We make hay, right? We're going to not make hay, but we're going to make some good hot food, and we're going to send it out while the sun is still shining. In other words, we're going to harvest while it's time to harvest, and so it is, and we're going to act on that as a church community. But I need your help to do that. So again, that'll happen this Friday. That's April 17th. From 5 o'clock in the afternoon till 6. That's a 1-hour time slot. Last time we were able to serve, about 270 meals to the folks that drove through. So we want to do it again. The church is going to feed spiritually, and it's going to feed physically, and you're part of that. You're the community. You are the church. You get to be the conduit. So we're gonna do that activity. We will be worshiping too. Again, kind of the way of looking at things is glass half full, and how God can bring something good out of something that's not so good. We've been tracking through analytics, those of you who've been watching our live stream of all of our services, and we are reaching between 2 to 3 times as many people as we would normally reach through the public participation on the campus. And that's an amazing thing to think about. Folks are getting a taste of Markham Woods. They're going to get a real taste through some food Friday, but they're getting a taste of who we are, of what you guys tell us we are all the time, how the warmth of this place, and how God is using this church. So again, a way of God doing something really good out of something that's been a bit tough. And we're going to continue that tradition. Keep watching our live streams. 9 o'clock will be the modern worship with Terry and the praise team. 11 o'clock will be the full classic worship with Bob and our singers. And I hope you'll hear some more good words and keep spreading it. And don't forget the grab and go food. It's grab and go blessings is really what it is. You're going to grab a blessing, one for you and one to go. So I hope you go out today with that kind of mindset of making hay while the sun is still shining. You are that. You are the glass half full people. You are the people that harvest at the right time. You are the people that can live out how there is brokenness in the world, but how God can use us to make something wonderful come out of it. So there's your word for the day, and blessings in Jesus' name.